All right, let's go ahead and talk about Jordan Spieth, the hottest golfer on the planet right now. He's already won the first 2 majors of the year, and he's won 6 events in his last, I think, 13 starts. So what he does that's very different than a lot of players that I see is he has very little club head rotation through the golf ball. Okay, so what that means is a lot of golfers, even professional golfers, but definitely a lot of you amateurs, you rely a lot on the timing of your hands and arms to square the golf club up through the hitting area. And you can tell because these are called fast twitch reflexive muscles, they're not always predictable and consistent in getting the club face back to square. So he's eliminated that from his golf swing. Okay? He starts off with a slightly weaker left hand grip, which just means his left hand is turned a little more on this side of the golf club. But from there, what he does very well is when he takes the golf club back, the club is always just looking at the golf ball. He's not opening the club face up at all. Because if you open it, you've got to close it. Okay, so he's taking the club face back in a manner that allows him to keep it very square. And from here, as he starts into the golf ball, what you're going to notice, he's leaving the club alone, dragging the club with his pivot. His pivot meaning his feet, knees, hips, a little bit of his torso. And he's keeping the club in that same square position as he goes through the hitting area. So for those of you out here who feel like your swing's dependent on timing and the squaring of your hands and arms, and one day it's good and one day it's not, I want you to hit some shots practicing what I'd call a Jordan Spieth-like drill. You're going to take the golf club back about halfway, keep the face pointing down at the ground a little more than normal. Make sure that the toe is not straight up and down. The knuckles of your left hand and the face are a little more down at a 45-degree angle. And from here, you're going to really feel your lower body start to activate and take charge, leading the way through the hitting area. You'll notice as he swings, his arms are almost always a little bent. They're just so passive, literally doing nothing. Body dragging it through the hitting area. He strikes the ball, and as he gets into here, you're going to see his hands and arms are still very passive. They're not manipulating the club face. People that manipulate the club face more, you're going to get more of this crossover look coming through. Okay, so start off with the short iron. I've got a 9-iron here. Take it back about halfway and really feel that pivot lead the way. You'll feel your hands and arms are really just doing nothing through the golf ball there. It's all pivot driven. But I'm going to give you one tip. You've got to really be willing and able to drive the lower body a little bit forward and up and around through the hitting area, because we're not going to just be standing there and doing it all with the hands and arms. What that gives him the ability to do when he wants to hit a draw or fade, the club face is so steady and stable throughout, all he has to do is change his swing path. A little more from the inside, he hits a draw. A little more to the left, he hits a fade. But it gives him that consistency day in and day out, rather than relying on the timing of the hands and arms. And we all know what our hands and arms do under pressure is they're very erratic and inconsistent. So give that a shot, see if that doesn't help your consistency.
So a very important aspect of this passive hands release is the takeaway. Notice as Jordan takes his golf club back there, the club is not in your classic toe-up position. The face is more pointing down at a 45-degree angle, or what I call watching the golf ball. Notice his left wrist is in a slightly bowed position, knuckles down towards the ground. Many people would change this. Many good golfers do not look like this. But it's what's going to allow him to make that downswing to where he's really not using the hands and arms at all, and there's almost no face rotation through the hit. Okay, so he leads the way with the lower body. There's a little bit of a weight transfer. The hips clear, and you see he gets back down into this position where the left wrist is bowed once again, knuckles down at the ground, and the face is again watching the golf ball, or in a more toe down position, not toe up. Okay, a very important aspect of this is be willing to drive your body, because the hands and arms are not going to square the golf club up or deliver it. Watch how hard he releases his body through the golf ball. Okay, most people think a release is releasing your right hand over your left, or rolling your forearms, or releasing your wrist. He's releasing the angles in his body. Okay, so by that I mean you can see the angle in his right leg. This is the angle of his torso. His hands and arms are not doing the work here. His pivot is doing the work. It's all pivot driven. Very little hand and arm action at all through the hit. but working hard with the body. So one more time here, just the face-on view, just so we can kind of see a little different angle of it. He has a very different look with his arms. You're going to see that left knuckle turning down towards the ground, the face more watching the ball. And you can see as he comes through the hitting area there, he doesn't release the golf club like most people would think. You can still see he's got this giant angle between his right arm and the shaft. So the club is not past him, the club is not turned over. He always has this slight chicken wing look as he comes through the hitting area. A great golfer like Ben Hogan had that same look and had that same sense of the body squaring the club up, not the hands and arms doing all the work. It's much more consistent under pressure, so if you feel a little handsy, a little armsy, I want you to try this Jordan Spieth drill out and see if it doesn't help clean it up.